Stick around and I'll show you how I built this lumber rack out of plywood. I even got a spot for full panels down here. You'll see how I built it out of pressure treated 2x4 since my garage floor does get wet. I spaced it every 32 inches. It's wide enough to hold an 8-foot board with no problem. I decided to cut the top flush with the arm so I can actually put a half a sheet of plywood up there if I need to. It's a great place to store my foam that I use to rip plywood with. I made it just low enough so the full sheets will lean up against the bottom here, but I also put wall protectors on here for the smaller sheets. Yeah, stick around and I'll show you how I did it.
This is how I set up my outfeed table. I just clamp my benches together. And of course I'm getting lots of help from Carson.
So I got my cut list here. Lots of 3-inch wide, 3/4 inch plywood. 8 pieces, 16 pieces, 32 pieces, 8 pieces, 12 pieces. So I'm going to get ripping on this, use my outfeed table. So I'll be able to stack all the pieces up and use it as outfeed. As soon as I'm done, I'll take that insert out, put my miter saw back in, and then cut them to length. So that's my plan. I'm going to get busy and start ripping.
Now to convert my bench back into the miter saw station. Get those bones out of the way.
I just love this switch here that will turn on my shop vac automatically when I turn my miter saw on. Sure is sweet. Leaves it on for 2 seconds. Shuts it off automatically. We line with these. Get my 46 inch. Yeah, my 46 inch. I need 8 of them.
Having this miter saw bench makes things so much easier when you have this many cuts. The stop block. Look above for the length to this build.
So now I need 16 at 18 and a half. Since I got a bunch of 5-inch and a bunch of 8-inch, I can set my stop block to 13 inches on the miter saw. I can't go any smaller than that. I'll go ahead and set up my crosscut sled. That's why I built this, to do the small cuts like that. So let me get that hooked up and start cutting.
I have a video on the build of this crosscut sled too. I'll put a link up above.
Get everything cut, so tomorrow I'll assemble it. Okay, I'm going to show you how this is going to go together. This is one of 4 that I'm going to make. These are spacers. Put a spacer right here. The longer ones extend out like this. Another spacer. There'll be a shorter one. Longer one, short one. I did cut these a little long, that way I can trim it on the table saw once I'm done with everything. So So there you have it. This is going to be the lumber rack. I'm going to drill holes through here and lag it to my studs. And I'm going to put them 32 inches apart. That way I can put in, there'll be 4 of them, so I can put an 8-foot piece up there with no problem. So this is the basic design. I'm going to go ahead and glue it all up, brad nail it, trim it to size. I'll probably put a 45 in these guys as well. So this is how I'm going to do each of them. First thing I do is make sure I'm right at 3 inches. Square it up, draw a line. Draw a line on this side. Now I can glue it. And I'm going to brad nail it, but yeah, that's a little tricky. With 2-inch brads, it's going to go through all 3 layers. So I need to clamp it first, and then I can brad nail it.
Well, I love this glue bottle too. It's worked out great. Might be time for a break. Trimming the ends off all these arms. Now for the 45s on the arms. Okay, here goes the assembly with all the spacers and arms. Just make sure everything's square. Make sure it's all flush at the back too. It makes it a lot easier to put it on the wall. The original idea of this came from a John Peters video where he built a lumber rack. I'll put a link to that in the description.
So I just picked up one of these Franklin stud finders. I'm going to give this a shot. I'll let you know how it goes. My old one was about 30 years old and finally couldn't find studs anymore. So I went ahead and picked this up at Lowe's. What I need to do is mount these on the wall. So I need to find the studs. Boy, I got to tell you, I wish I would have bought one of these a long time ago. Relying on that cheap one I used to have. Oh my gosh, I'm glad I threw that thing in the trash. Because this is worth every penny. If you're looking to get a stud finder, definitely recommend this one. So originally I wasn't going to paint the lumber rack, but I'd like more experience with this HVLP gun. If you want me to do a video about this setup, I'll be glad to. I'm still learning myself, but I think I got this thing dialed in. I'm going to be spraying about 27 pounds. I don't want it to be too much. I want it to go all over. That's why I bought this thing. A little pressure. And this is way too thick to go into the HVLP. Oh my gosh, this is really thick. Definitely going to have to water this down. Okay, what I've chose is this product here. It's called Headlock. It's basically a timber lock. And I've used these a lot in framing. Did a foundation for my greenhouse and a tree house several years ago with these. And they're 6 inches long, so they'll easily go through this and into my 2x6 studs. These things are awesome because you really don't need to pre-drill. Although I'll get this thing started with a small drill bit.
This step ladder was exactly the right height for me to use as a helping hand. I was going to put a temporary ledger up, but the step ladder came to the rescue. After I got it all put up, I decided to take it down and cut the top flush. I got to looking and I could have a full 18.5 inches at the top there. So each one came down, I trimmed the top and put it back up. I also drilled some holes and screwed the arms into the wood instead of just glue and brads.
I'm going to make this area under here for the panels. So I'm going to put some pressure treated lumber down here, and then I've got some torn up MDF I'm going to put on top of that. But to protect the walls, I'm going to put these runners. I'd like for them to lean right up against here, but I know that's not going to be possible for all of them. So I'm going to put some runners on here. I'll paint these up. And yeah, it'll protect the walls. I'll get started on that with my shop dog. So I do this just like I'm doing framing. Square on both of these, make the same marks. I'm going to put the stud right there. Stud right there. That's going to be a tough knot. I'm going to put these blocks of 3/4 inch plywood along here to hold the panels from sliding off. And I'll use pocket screws to do that. Since it won't go very good in the MDF, I'll do it straight to the 2x4s. Yeah, that should work. This is what happens when you're too lazy to set up your dust collection.
Put in 3-inch screws right into the sole plate of my framing. This is the first time I used this scuff defense from Bear. It's supposed to be for decking and whatnot, cabinets. So it really goes on thick, so I'll let you know how it holds up. And I worked a long time on the paint and the drywall on this shop, so I want to protect it from any panels that slide down or lean up against the wall.
Yeah. It does pass the pull-up test. Although it's hard on the hands, I should have done a round over on these. Oof. Carson approved? Okay, let's get busy.